Western United have lost their new potential investors that might have dug them out of a hole and helped them reclaim their A-League license for season 24-25. I'm here with Christian as we've seen the news drop. The Australian Financial Review is reporting the fact that KAM Sports have pulled out of the deal. Christian, we were talking about this appeals process and the fact that Western United keep dragging their feet on a lot of these factors and decisions, and the fact that this takeover deal of the Western Melbourne Group has now fallen through. From my incredibly optimistic outlook on Australian football, even I cannot see a path forward for Western United's survival.
It's tough to see them getting out of this now. They've dug themselves such a big hole, and it goes back to not paying players, all these different contributing factors that this new ownership group that were trying to obviously save this club have now said, hold on, we're going to sort of pull the pin and not put our money where our mouth is and invest in the club. So that's just a massive disappointment for everyone involved at West United. And it's a real shame because it goes back to not doing the fundamentals, not sticking to your processes and sticking to your plan in terms of the economic side of things financially. Like, there's players there who weren't paid for about 2 to 3 months, and that was obviously in these statements from the Financial Review. That's one of the contributing factors why this ownership haven't gone through with this deal. So over time, when you make mistake after mistake and you don't clean up after your act, and you sort of keep the ball rolling and don't address those issues, then it comes back to bite you, right? And I think West United currently are going to learn that the hard way. From here now, it's very difficult to see where they really go to from here. We know it took them a while to put in that appeals process in the first place. Obviously had to get all their information together, which is fair enough. But it's got to the stage where it's sort of like that was probably the last straw. It's really
Yeah.
difficult to see where they can turn to now, unfortunately.
Yeah, so their eggs were clearly all in that basket, but there is another point to say, was that a wise move in the beginning? And maybe they didn't have any other option. And you're right, as part of this report from the Financial Review, Mikhail Kaminsky gave some quotes saying that essentially it was the fact that Western United weren't paying their players and that they lost their A-League license by Football Australia as the reasons why they were pulling out of the deal. But we also have to remember that, and we talked about this when the deal was announced, their history of investing in football is, a little bit loose at best. They've been interested in a number of different clubs, have never been able to actually close a sale. And I've seen Vince Rugari bring this up on social media as well. The fact that the deal initially was announced after the first instance of late payment to players, it seems a little bit interesting to then go in these quotes in this piece and say that this is part of the reason why you're not following through. So maybe there's some more behind the scenes. Maybe they were never, ever trustworthy to begin with. But either way, for Western United, it's not giving them a whole lot of outlook. And if this was their only option, well, then what else can you really do at that point?
Yeah, 100% right. I'm just thinking towards the next 24, 48 hours when we're going to know exactly what's going to happen, right? Are they going to stay in the league or are they going to fold? I'm just interested to see the fallout. And
If losing your investors then goes into the appeal being successful, that is a footballing miracle, the likes of that no one has ever
that'd be
seen
unbelievable.
before.
That'd be unbelievable. Because again, it's this ownership group have pulled out, and now it's like it's sort of like where do you turn to? And it's just been disaster after disaster for this football club, and it's a real shame because we've spoken about over the past few weeks how this club has so much potential. They won the championship a few years ago, right? You sort of thought, okay, they're struggling a bit to gain supporters in sort of the Tarneet area, chopping and change to Amy Park, playing in Tarneet, going back and forth, trying to market themselves, promote themselves as trying to compete with the likes of Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory, which is already difficult in itself because those clubs, especially Victory, have established themselves in the city for over 2 decades now. At least they had a few things going for them. This new stadium, the youth development program, which is looking on the up. John Aloisi, obviously really promising coach who did sign that contract deal only probably less than 2 months ago. Then you see players like James Kachowski leading the club, which is a real shame. Not playing a single minute, just a quick in and out. Then obviously signed for Perth, did he? Signed for the Perth
Yep.
Glory. So it's just been an absolute shambles. I mean, if West United somehow did survive, and you mentioned if they pulled out some sort of miracle, I'm just trying to think how how will they be able to, attract players? How will they?
Mm.
I just don't know how that'll work heading into the new season. There'll be so much distraction off field heading into the new season, just weeks away.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. There absolutely would be. We probably do need to clarify as well that the term survival, and I know I used it right off the bat, right? It's probably not entirely correct because they probably can still exist in a club as a club without their A-League license. Like obviously they're still playing in the MPL systems. I'm
Hmm.
not sure, in 4 months' time or whatever, when it comes time to review those licenses in state league football, do they have the same issues? Who knows? But their VPL one team has done very well. Sorry, VPL two, I believe, earned promotion. So they're doing all right. But
Hmm.
could they operate without an A-League license, have a year out, then maybe get new investors and come back? Possibly. But I think we're definitely drawing the line through them for 24, 25, 26. But
Hmm.
you'd have to go back to kind of skeleton of what a club is, and you're going to lose all your top talent. You'd essentially be a new expansion club when you came back in.
Would it be worth it? Looking at it from a perspective of the APL, right, to go down that path as you suggested, take a year out and then put another submission in for the license. You've got other clubs in there who are probably putting their hands up, like a Canberra, the men's team, for example, which have been rumoured to enter the competition now for quite a while. A club that's already made and ready for this, right? If you bring Western back in it after a year out, can you trust them now? Has that trust been broken? Are they capable of um, not finding themselves in this predicament yet again? Like these are the concerns and worries I think the whole league has if that situation does arise. But um, yeah, I'm really, really fascinated to see the outcome of this appeal process. But as we've stated with this breaking news coming out, it's looking, yeah, very bleak for the club. And you've got to feel for the fans, right? Because if that was to
Mm.
play out, they went to play for a season and then come back. What about the fans sitting on the sidelines? Would they go back to Victory, supporting Victory? Would they support City and then go back to West United? Would they have to support the NPL side, the VPL side? It's just unbelievable. So, yeah, I just don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, it's tough. I want to read through a little bit more of this piece as well. The report is saying that CAN directors said they haven't closed the door on doing a future deal with Western United, but it would need to be done differently. There's also some quotes from the Wyndham City Council. His name is Mark Rossiter, who is Wyndham's head of corporate services. He says, quote, "It is unfortunate that the potential solution proposed here appears to have been turned into much more than an expensive and time-consuming tire-kicking exercise," he told the Financial Review. And that doesn't look great in terms of, again, the reputation that Western have built in terms of dragging their feet and the ownership in terms of the development
Hmm.
of the land around the club and the stadium as well. And maybe it's a warning sign that this kind of crossover between football and real estate is not one that at least should be treated lightly. Obviously, it's a great leverage opportunity if you can
Hmm.
get it right, but there seems to be a lot of extra volatility and risk at play.
Yeah, looking at it from the outside, they've taken it for granted. You'd have to say making the wrong decisions off field with these sorts of investments, and it's like I said before at the start of the pod, it's come back to bite them. And we've said before as well, other clubs in the league are not obviously in West United's position in terms of this financial situation, but who knows? They're probably close to it, right? Some of these clubs who have to be really, really careful. And they're probably looking at West United's situation, thinking, okay, we probably have to clean up our act a bit as well. We've got to be careful how we balance the books, and because yeah, I'd imagine that there are at least a couple of clubs who are probably teetering towards going down the same path as Western have, in this scenario. So look, it's a real shame because yeah, I probably tend to be a bit more pessimistic when it comes to West United and this sort of project, giving them the license in the first place, given the other clubs who put bids forward who were arguably more ready for the occasion to step up and come into the league. It's always going to be a massive risk to start a club from scratch. We've seen it with MacArthur, not so financially, but being able to attract the crowds, and it's about picking the local areas, right? If you want to start up these clubs, Auckland is obviously a different story because,
Yeah.
they're with their story, with their background and the ownership and all that sort of stuff, it's a bit different for them. But for a club like Western United, they're always going to be faced with an uphill battle, and they did so well, right? I mean, to win a championship in those sorts of in those circumstances, and then to have this happen only what 3 odd seasons later, it's a real shame and disappointing. So, I guess we'll wait and see for the outcome.
Yep. All right. The next few days are going to be pretty crucial. We'll keep you up to date. Keep tabs on social media and the YouTube channel of Ramble Australia. We'll see you next time.